It's my pleasure to introduce a Silver Apple honoree, a former chairman of the Direct Marketing Association, a former club president for Marketing Club of New York, and Alliant CEO, Joanne Manfredi Dunn. Thank you.
Thank you, Chester. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. What great energy in this room. Thank you, Ruth. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Well, we're thrilled to be here. This is the 19th year that we have sponsored this. It was Pam Haas who connected Bruce and I together, and we started this tradition.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Bruce. It's, for me, more than just this blessed event. Bruce has been a consultant to our company. Bruce helped me recently have a successful transition in selling our business. So at Alliant, we love Bruce, and we love this opportunity to share Bruce with the Direct Marketing Club. And I said that wrong, it's the Marketing Club. Okay, I'm aging myself, but Ken already did that. For those of you who don't know Alliant, we continue to support Bruce's his topic today, which is Outlook for Advertising, Marketing, and Data in 2025. Transformation accelerates. It's been accelerating, but it's going faster, and I think it's going to keep going faster, and we all need to figure out how to keep up. So, that kind of mirrors what we're doing at Alliant. We continue to transform our business where we're able to get data faster, higher quality, and at scale, available across channel. And that's very different from how we started the business 20 years ago as a direct mail focused company. So we've driven innovation and are trying to keep up with the industry and continue to provide really great solutions for brands, brokers, and agencies across all marketing channels. And we're very proud of those accomplishments. And you don't do it alone. You use people like Bruce to help you and your team. My team's here. If you don't know us and you want to meet our team, guys, raise your hands. There are lots of folks here. Lots of SMEs that can help with your marketing efforts. But let's talk about Bruce, enough about Alliant. You all know Bruce is an industry expert with, my notes say 3 decades of experience. I'm guessing we're pushing on 3.5 decades.
Might be 4.
Providing strategy and insight across such a wide range of companies. He works with enterprise marketers, mid-market marketers, advertising agencies, marketing agencies, data and digital marketing services, tech providers, you name it, Bruce is in there, and including private equity, which was a huge help to me this year again. Anyway, Bruce is a huge contributor to our industry, to our community, and continues to help us all evolve. Bruce is a frequent speaker, as you all know. He was on the board of the DMA. He is a Silver Apple honoree and a Mal-Dunn Leadership honoree as well. So today marks our 19th time, Bruce's 19th time doing this, Bruce and his team, because I don't think you do this alone. Is any of your team here with you today?
Not today.
They're right, you made them all stay there and work?
They are all working. I am playing.
I thought maybe you gave them the day off after they put this deck together.
Yeah,
for you.
no.
Anyway, as he does, Bruce promises a thorough review of what happened in 24 and what we can look forward to in 25. Please join me with a warm welcome for Bruce Biegel.
Okay, scotch in hand, here we go again. Make sure. Here we
Does
go.
everybody
I
have
know
a
who I am.
scotch?
Thank you all for being here. And yes, it takes 13 members from our team to put this together. We cover 24 channels. We break it down. All our junior analysts, like, hi, you have a channel. You have a channel. You have a channel. So everybody contributes. And then, especially Josh Kovar, who can't be here today, we sit down and say, all right, what trends are we going to talk about? What are we blowing off? Because each year, it seems like there is more going on than there has been before. For those of you who don't know Winterberry Group, half our work is helping suppliers in the industry. The other half is working for private equity. In between that, we publish content. We don't quote people, we don't name names. It's how do we advance the industry? And that's always been part of our passion. It's our 22nd year. It is our 19th year doing this, so next year we're gonna come up with something completely different. Vince is gonna do this. All right, so there's a lot of content here. The biggest problem we have is, what do we leave on the cutting room floor when so much is going on? So if I skipped your favorite passion project, sorry. 24, it was still a very uncertain geopolitical time. We didn't know what was going to happen. Elections were going one way, equity markets were going up, up, up. Unemployment, when I was here last year, we thought 4.3, came in at 4.1. So more people are working, which meant more people are spending, which meant GDP far outstripped. Like the forecast for last year was 1% growth. And we came in closer to 2.8. So the market is confounding all the forecasters. The economy outperformed, inflation started to moderate. We got a couple of rate cuts. Last year we said it's gonna be higher for longer. We got 2 rate cuts. We're still in higher for longer. This is not changing. When Jamie Dimon throws up his hands, like he did this week, and say, well, a little inflation, it's okay. It's probably not okay. We might just run out of money by mid-year, but it's okay. Until then, close all your deals in the first half of the year. And when we talk to the marketers, they talk about, they're still, like it used to be, you had a fairly predictable, you could do your account planning in the fall, you knew what was going to happen, and it went from annual planning to quarterly planning with a but, and it might be campaign-based. It's making the investment community a little crazy because they don't have visibility. Well, we don't have visibility. And the brands are saying, well, we'd like some more efficiency out of you. Well, efficiency comes with predictability. If I can forecast and I can see what my pipeline of work is going to look like, I can optimize. I can repeat. Well, we're not getting that. We are getting do more with the same, which is still better than do more with less. That was 23 and the first part of 24. But do more with the same has its own challenges without visibility. So, all that being said, where do we think we landed? We landed 24, up about 11%, which beat the forecast. Up about an 8.7 ex politics, which was pretty much right in line. I looked at our numbers. We're off by about 5 billion. It was all political. So we came in within 1% on our forecast last year. So
Congratulations.
I have a good team. Thank you. And it was all political miss because the first half of politics, there were no primaries. There was no competition until Kamala came into the race. And then all of a sudden there was a bunch of money. And now of course they're saying, well, the midterm will be the same size, the next midterm will be the same size as this year. I don't think so. But it's going to be tough and it's going to be nasty. For many, many years, we looked at advertising and marketing spend growth as 2x GDP. Over the last 5 years, it's been closer to 2.5 times. So we've seen enough of a pattern that says, think more 2.5 times. If it goes the other way, it also goes 2.5 times down. But right now, it's been pretty stable. So we watch both. 551, our target was 555. We missed on the political side. That shift between digital and offline. I went back to the forecast from 2007. Offline's about the same place. It really hasn't changed. It's moved around a bunch. Money's moved out of some areas, but traditional and offline hasn't moved, and digital, every new dollar has gone digital for 19 years. That is a scary kind of notion. but haven't we all? So when we look at offline, linear TV had a very strong year. We had an Olympics. We had an election. We had a national election, so that drove national dollars. Newspaper, magazine, print still not doing so great. Experiential and sponsorship, trade show and events. I seem to get invited to another event to attend about every 45 minutes. It's not even every day. There are so many webinars, there are so many events. Figuring out the arbitrage, like years ago when I was at PMA, we said, yeah, there's an event a day. There were 365 marketing and sales events. I've got to think there's 700 now. Like, we are drowning. But it's a lot of money because when people aren't in the office, the only place you're going to see people is if you go out. Direct mail was up. Direct mail was up after a pretty bad year, the prior year. And shopper marketing, part of connected commerce, which I'm going to talk about today. Shopper marketing, that in-store thing, everything's digital. No, we still go to the store. We go to the store 80% of the time. Unless you're my wife, she goes to Instacart. Direct mail volumes, so there was that clip. Like, 23 was bad. We lost nearly 10%, 14% rather. Catalog really took it on the chin. This year, that kind of extra billion pieces that came back, call that politics. That is politics. But there was so if you did well in direct mail, you did well because you took share from somebody else. Online, on the other hand, is all green. It's been all green all the time for 18 years. But it keeps adding. So where did it add? Search grew 14.5%. But Google type of search, Bing type of search, probably grew closer to 4%. This is on-platform search at Amazon, on Walmart, on commerce sites. That is driving this growth. This is not traditional search. Social? Yes, social had a massive comeback. Pools and pools of data that are driving the industry, that make social attractive. TikTok's up to $12.34 billion, or not, depending on what happens. It went dark for a day. Didn't bother me, might have bothered other people. But out of the 170 million people who have signed up, notice they never quote monthly active users or daily active users, just there are 170 million who have a TikTok account. So maybe it's not quite 170 million, but that when they think about where could that money go, they think, well, Meta, between Instagram and Facebook, could get 40 to 50% of that. $6 billion bump just for being there on the podium this week and donating to a campaign. Google Shorts, well positioned. So there are a whole bunch of people who are very, very well positioned to grab that share. Otherwise, they will figure out a way to come to an agreement. CTV picked up $3 billion-ish from the election, so did very well. CTV did very well either way. And last year I talked about sports and the sports mode. It was just coming out of the first Peacock game for NFL. And everybody was crying and moaning and whinging. And guess what? Nobody cares to shoot. It's like you're used to, it's on Amazon or it's on Paramount or it's on Apple, it's on wherever, and you just subscribe. So that conversation has changed. That money is moving to CTV. It might actually just be moving from one pocket to the other pocket, because a lot of, in many cases, ABC, CBS, etc., they own both pockets. So it's just a move with a different CPM. But we did not see price increases. We saw price start to come down. So we didn't have price inflation on it. So it was real growth. But you still have Apple and Netflix. And I just got the notice this morning when Netflix ad-free is going up. So if you don't want ads, just be prepared to continue to pay more. Influencer, I'm going to talk about a little bit. Influencer, creator, still don't, but everything has gone up. This is where the money goes. And we kind of break this down into like which channels are data driven and which ones are not. But it's all pretty good. The data industry. For the last 3 years, we have been through what I would call the consolidation of the data layer. We wrote a white paper last year after this event, and it's up on our website if you want to read it. But what we posited was, in order to do generative AI, in order to do omni-channel, et cetera, you can't have data sitting in silos across your org. And we are now seeing that infrastructure consolidation. And we're getting to a point where, okay, it's been consolidating since 21. And if you go to an organization and you think, oh, I'm gonna sell data to this side of the firm and that side of the firm, no. They've got it in one place, and it's run by one group. There may be a steering committee, but the data infrastructure's had its third great year. Data did well because data-driven channels. CTV uses a lot more data than linear TV. And we had an election, which is all about data. So that did well. Data services measurement. We're gonna watch data services really closely because we think as we go to multi-currency for CTV and linear, we're gonna spend, but are we going, like, Nielsen pretty much had it under control. Now it's gonna be Nielsen, ComScore, iSpot, VideoAmp, et cetera. And that is going to spread the spend. But what I haven't heard is it's gonna increase the spend. Just because I'm using 2 or more companies to measure and to do attribution, doesn't mean I actually have increased my budget past 2.5%, 3% of spend. All right, M&A. Dead in 23, like completely stopped. First half of 24, still pretty dead. Second half of 24, if you were doing well, like Joanne, you got your deal done. Otherwise, we had just as many deals bust up because people are having a hard time making their forecast. It's hard to forecast when you lose that visibility into annual budgets and you're thinking about quarterly budgets and you're thinking about weekly campaigns. And now you're forecasting like that. Like you don't really know. And of course, your investors are going, well, why don't you know? You should know. Well, it just doesn't work that way. Agency consolidation, another big part of last year, but we're starting to see, and already this year, 3 CDPs have been bought by content, by influencer, by other, so that data layer consolidation is continuing to close. Omnicom IPG, probably the biggest story. When we were at CES 2 weeks ago, that's all people wanted to talk about. The brands aren't happy. It takes one of the largest players out of the bid. But everybody who's a challenger network, well, actually, that's pretty good because it just took one of the major players out of the bid. So we're going to watch how that goes. You don't take $750 million of consolidation benefits out without taking out people. So we are going to see some transformation on the people side. But we're seeing for the first time in a long time, we're seeing our friends in Europe. I have business going on right now. I'm going to Brazil this weekend for a client. I'm going to Europe the week after. We have clients in APAC. The globe is kind of waking up. We have a bunch of companies in Europe. They're coming, we want to come here. More UK than the continent, but we're starting to see that cross-border. But in the past, it would have been us going there. They're coming here, which is kind of interesting. They're tapping their markets. We're seeing mergers for scale. IPG Omnicom is mergers for scale. Bounteous and Acolyte, mergers for scale, and their numbers are going through the roof. They're in the system integrated bucket. Avast getting public gives them liquidity. CDPs I talked about, Zeta taking out live intent. This market has woken up. We expect to see significant transaction activity in our sector this year. I read a stat Tuesday. There are 11,800 private equity-backed companies waiting to exit. It will take 8 years to run that up. So we are going to see a lot of deal volume, some of which was really postponed for a while. So private equity is back in the market, they're hunting for deals. So we're gonna see more velocity, more transformation to go along with market transformation and lack of visibility. Good luck. All right, so what are we thinking about? We start with agentic AI. Think about all of the chat GPTs and things like that, they were designed to gather information. Ask a question, it gives you a whole bunch of answers really quickly. We're gonna move from that to reasoning-based agents. Agents that help you make decisions. And that's what we think is gonna start to roll this year. That's what we're seeing in the VC pipeline. 1 out of every 4 VC investments is in AI right now, generative AI. It forces your data sets to come together. It forces a new set of process management and change management into your organization. Will I need more people? Will I do less content? Lots of questions up in the air. But think about AI-based agents as the watchword for this year, not just Gen AI in general, and the big LLMs. Think about private LLMs, small LLMs. They got every kind of acronym coming out. But it's really about the agent and what it can do for you. We're gonna see it in the data space. They are changing the front end in data to be natural language. So I could just ask, like, build me a contextual audience that does X, Y, Z. And it will go not just build, it won't just say, yes, there are audiences. It's gonna tell you how many people are in that audience and what you can buy. So we're seeing that. It's gonna take another year, but watch for these reasoning-based applications. Content. So I started talking about it. It's like, all right, we got all this Gen AI, can automate all this content. Content spend should be going down. They reduce budget. No, it means I can do fast content. I can do more content. I can personalize better. So if I can do all those things, guess what? I didn't say I was cutting my content budget. I'm actually going the other way. And I'm spending more money on content on a global basis. That 92 to 151, that was 78 in 2019. This money is coming in. So it's not about budget cuts, it's velocity. It's that volume of personalized content, and I need more content for more channels. So we're not seeing spend reduction, we're gonna see different spend. We were looking at a particular application. There was a video, it was being shot. It had to go into production. It goes to the VFX people who do all the effects for the video. That used to take 3 days. That took 3 hours. Okay, you don't get to charge for 3 days when it takes you 3 hours because people aren't stupid. But it didn't mean that they cut your budget. They said, give me 20 more formats and 20 more slices, which is actually hard work. So the agencies are under a lot of pressure, but it's not because budgets are going down. CTV, I talked about, we're moving from CTV as part of linear extension to CTV at the center. We believe from our forecasts that by 2027, we have flipped. We have tipped. And when I look at those 2007 numbers, when linear was 80 billion and linear is now 49 billion, on its way towards 40 billion, it has flipped. Again, money doesn't go away. Money moves. Money moves to CTV. It's where our attention has moved. Yet, when it comes to actual viewing hours, linear still trumps CTV by 3-1. So how do you balance this? It's kind of the same argument we had about digital. Digital didn't get enough respect. It didn't get enough money when we were going from offline to digital. We're still trying to figure out what is the right amount of spend. Market research, we rarely cover this, but we did a really nice piece this year of work with Houlihan Lokey, one of the investment banks, and we started to draw it down. Market research, which for a while you couldn't give away a market research fund. Traditional market research, panels, focus groups, shit was dead. And now all of a sudden it's digital panels, it's digital product selection, it's I can go through and I can look at 50 package iterations in a couple hours. I can have a digital shelf with my product in the package, showing the shelf. This business is changing, and it's growing really well. And by the way, there's a huge amount of exhaust data that comes out of that. So we're starting to watch, the people in market research say they're in the data and analytics business. And we are always like, yeah, you're kind of market research, so we're not gonna give you that credit. It's actually changing. They are in the data and analytics business, and they are getting very technified. B2B, and we looked at our B2B numbers, and I did a presentation for the A&A B2B committee last week. So we deconstructed all of B2B. We kind of looked and said, it's search and social. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably for the business person the place you go to find people. Like, it has become the home for searching out people and what they do. And unfortunately also reaching out to people. Like, no, I don't need another BD group. Like, literally 4 times a day. We can help you grow your business. We're gonna get you 400 new leads. I got 20 people. What am I gonna do with 400 leads? I'm not gonna be able to follow up on any of this. But social and search, really, really growing. And in-person events, I'll talk about it. Experiential, which still is the significant part of B2B spend, is still growing. Creators. All right, so we get in an argument in the office. What's the difference between a creator and an influencer? So I went to ChatGPT and asked, seriously? What do you do? Creators are those who create content. In the B2B world, it's people like us. We have a certain level of authority, and so you have domain expertise. You are a creator. Influencers have audience. They have lots of people who follow them. What you want are creators who create content and influencers who can create content and bring you audience. But together, their role and the amount of money they're being paid keeps going up. But you have to think about, do I need a creator to hire? Or do I need I've got great domain authority as a brand. I need a creator to help increase that and show expertise. Or I need to extend my reach. I need an influencer who's gonna get eyeballs to show up. Maybe not always the right eyeballs. So it's different. So we're seeing a transformation there as well. And then again, we still have no idea what's going to go on with TikTok. We've been losing identifiers for 5 years straight. We just keep, deprecation of cookies aside, like that's an old conversation, doesn't matter. But identifiers keep getting pulled out for one regulatory reason or another. If you are an enterprise brand, you spend $30 million a year plus in advertising and marketing, you are a candidate for doing marketing mix modeling or commercial mix modeling, whatever the term is going to be. So MMM has replaced MTA as your measurement attribution kind of technology of choice. But that kind of leaves out the mid-market and it leaves out SMB. But we did a survey of SMB and they're like, how do you measure? We wait to see if the phone rang or people walked in the store. Like, it's pretty basic, they're not gonna spend on measurement. But in that mid-market, what will happen? We're gonna watch for mid-market solutions in the next 12 months to come in. It's not really MMM light, but it could be. So there's a gap in the market. Part of it is, to do MMM correctly requires consultation with analytics professionals who really understand how to build the models. It's not about PII, it's just about having the right data. So you have a data ingestion problem, you have an expertise problem. And every leading MMM provider, when they pull the people away, the whole thing collapses. The mid-market can't really afford that, so we're gonna have some sort of kind of hybrid MMM, MTA thing. And we don't know what it is yet, but it is something that we think is coming into the market. It's gonna take a little while. So ESG and DEI. If you are a global brand, your entire supply chain is looked at when you're in Europe. So how you think about sustainability and diversity matters. This country, maybe not so much. This country, under this particular government, this is on the back burner. The other challenge is when the Supreme Court made the ruling about diversity and admissions to universities, there was a very significant group of people who said, that means you can't discriminate anywhere. And any kind of DEI program is inherently discriminatory against the people who were applying, no matter what you were. So all of a sudden you're like 13 states suing every major corporation. So when you see an Amazon or a Meta, et cetera, backing off, it's not because they just wanted to back off. It's because lawsuits are very, very expensive, both to your brand, and there are a lot of lawyers who are going to make a lot of money. So it's easier to say, we're going to pull back until we see this clear up. And so DEI is on its back foot. Sustainability, drill baby drill, is not about sustainability in packaging or anything else. So these initiatives that have been a topic for the last 7-8 years, if you're global and you go to Europe where it's like, this is not optional. But even in Europe, they're under pressure because there's been a shift to the right in many of the governments. So we see this being we're gonna back off. It's not, where I sit, it's not the best thing in the world, but it is our reality under the current situation. And as a company, you've got to navigate this. The last trend that I'll talk about is the global expansion of data privacy, regulatory, pets. You have to have a pet, a privacy-enhancing technology. So it could be encryption, it could be differential privacy, it could be solutions that reduce the movement of data. Whatever you're going to do, the eye is on compliance and regulatory, and how you don't get in trouble, and how you protect your customers and their information and the broader general population. Clean rooms, we have seen them expand fairly significantly. They have become a must-have. They were a nice-to-have feature 4 years ago. They're a must-have feature today. So the question becomes, are they a product or a feature? The CDPs are starting to build them in. The data lakes and data warehouses are starting to build them in to their solutions. And when we ask them, well, what do you charge? Well, we're just going to raise your ACV. So your contract value is going to go up. Well, how much of that is because you have a pet? Well, no, we're not going to tell you that. Here's what we're going to charge you more, and it's included. So we think a lot of this becomes included. We also think it's a must-have. If I want to do overlap analysis, if I want to do measurement and attribution, et cetera, you must have clean rooms and clean room type solutions, and you want to limit the movement of data. Every time it moves, it goes at risk. So we think it remains a big topic, top of mind, but I think we go from clean rooms and collaboration solutions there as a product to as a feature of the rest of the data infrastructure, which may or may not make friends of mine happy. All right, 2 weeks from now, no, maybe next week now. Next week, we have a paper coming out that we've worked on for the last 6 months on connected commerce. If you are in the digital world, all you hear about is retail media. Retail media, it's all about retail media. Retail media is on-platform digital. You were forgetting about that other number that was like 20 billion or so, that was shopper marketing. Connected commerce is about bringing the online and offline market together. All those people who've been dumping money, especially our CPG friends, into retail media are thinking, should we move that much of our trade promo dollars into ad? Well, here's part of my problem. I'm in charge of merchandising. I gotta buy product. Frequently I'm buying product 9 months in advance. So I'm putting it on the shelf. Retail media sells ads. And they say, it's gonna move that product. Well, I got 1,000 more impressions than I did last week, but I didn't move a single can of anything. So there's a disconnect between the incentives of the media sellers at these retailers and the incentives of the merchandisers. And that needs to come back together for this to work. And they're saying, where's my measurement? I got a major measurement gap in here. The money for connected commerce going through the roof. Like, this is not in question. There is a ton of money between online and offline. And we have commerce media networks. I went to the JP Morgan Chase Commerce Media coffee shop at CES. Like, they're everywhere. And they're in, you know, it's beyond retail into finance, into, like, we haven't seen it in insurance yet, but we'll start to see these. They're just collaborations. If I've got audience and I can monetize it, and I can drop extra revenue to the bottom line, more importantly, I can drop EBIT out of the bottom line, I'm fine. But there's a point where it starts to have diminishing returns. We used to call these ad networks. And by the way, ad networks got a bad name after a while because we were dumping things. But nonetheless, a ton of money coming in. And it's not all media spending. It's 2/3 is retail media, 1/3 is other. It is creative, it is content, you know, so it's not just one thing. So I know we all read all the pubs, but don't get caught in that. The other commerce story that we're paying a lot of attention to is B2B. So B2B commerce, $2.4 trillion. That's a lot. You know, we have a $29 trillion economy. $2.4 trillion going into B2B commerce is a fairly big number, and it's grown at 17%. It's a big deal that nobody talks about. What we've also seen is B2B marketplaces, where buyers and sellers meet and join together. There were 75 of them in 2019. It's over 500 now. So there's a massive transition going on behind the scenes that doesn't get the press, that doesn't get talked about. But B2B platforms and marketplaces, $350 billion in sales. These are no longer little numbers. These are real numbers and real money. And you now have to treat your B2B customers like B2C. So that's the other thing. So B2B getting away with lagging on the customer experience, that road has shortened significantly. All right, technology. You've heard us at Winterberry, we always think of things in layers. We have a data layer, an intelligence layer, and an activation layer. That's how we break down the tech stack. When we think about what we're going to do on the data side, it's composable, it's best in class. I'm going to have a data lakehouse. I am likely to have a CDP. I need an identity solution. I don't need 20 of them, but I will have a hybrid stack. Because no matter what dream you are being sold by the Adobes and the Salesforces, et cetera, there is no one platform to rule them all. So that is not the answer. Composable is where we are seeing everybody land. Certainly upper mid-market and enterprise. When you get down into the lower mid, it's like, all right, am I gonna be on Salesforce? Am I gonna be on HubSpot? Like, you have limited choices because they're bundling everything together. So I can get one tool that does integrate it. It may not be the best at anything, but it's good enough and at the right price. What we're seeing is the other impact is the impact on the silos. If I want AI to work, and I'm really talking about generative AI here, my audience data was managed by one group. Might have been in marketing, might have been in IT. My content was managed by another group. That was my digital asset management platform, my CMS, that might have been my commerce group, my website group. They didn't really talk to each other. But if I'm an LLM, I want to point at both of those. So what's going to drive these together is the fact that I want to move into this agentic world, and therefore it's required that I merge this. And we think this is that next wave of consolidation at the data layer, because content and creative are data. Like ultimately, video is just unstructured data. And so you start to see that come together and more desilalization. The other issue that we're going to run into So this is our view of the world. Doesn't have to be anybody else's view of the world. But there's a data layer. And underneath that is workflow, and underneath that is identity. Identity runs into the data layer, runs into the intelligence layer. Intelligence is decisioning, orchestration, journey management, all of the thinking, all of this AI stuff shows up in the intelligence layer. Activation platforms, so if I was an email platform, marketing automation platform, content management platform, they all said, hey, we're gonna put machine learning and Gen AI in there, and it will be the decision maker. But you can't have 8 decision makers, or in this case, 12, all trying to decide what is the next best action, so you can be consistent. So we see all of the brains and intelligence moving out of activation and into this intelligence layer. And we are early. It may take another 2 years to 3 years, but watch for that activation layer to become dumb. Headless is actually the term. Dumb is probably what I'll use. Intelligence layer, if we've consolidated the data layer, we can actually start to apply an intelligence layer. If your data layer was deconstructed, the intelligence layer didn't matter. The second part of that is now we can start to look at what we thought was going to happen 10 years ago on the channel. You're going to see ad tech and martech, activation and decisioning start to come together. That is something we've seen in a few platforms. Expect that to accelerate through 25 and into 26 and really take hold. So when your DSP, when the trade desk is now also doing your on-site personalization, you know you're there. The other part of that, marketing ops. So if you're going to consolidate all this shit, somebody needs to run it. And it's the marketing ops group. And when I started 20 years ago in this area, it was like marketing ops people were, hey, you used to worry about laptops, you could just kind of worry about some process stuff. It's now a career. These are the people who bring together compliance, marketing, IT. They're the ones who need the expertise to manage the stack. And it's become a career that's not a $50,000 job, that's a $250,000 job. And it used to be just best of breed, the Cap Ones, et cetera, that got this. And we are starting to see it really permeate across the industry. All right, bring this home. We think, subject to tariffs, interest rates, Gen AI, the M&A environment, executive actions, and all the other things, we think we're going to go up about 6% this year. Now remember, we're going to go up 6%, but we've lost political. Political goes from 11 billion to probably 500 million this year. So take 10 billion out and move it over. So our real net increase, ex-political, is closer to 45 billion, which is pretty good. Unless you're in linear TV. Linear TV, we think, could be down 20%. Like, this is the biggest drop it's had. Mail's gonna kind of noodle along, experiential, we're still gonna go to events, etc. But linear TV, this shift is starting to show up in the numbers. And again, as I said earlier, it goes for the next couple of years until it flips. That also has a major change. Right now, planning and budgeting is linear centric. When I'm building a media plan, I start with linear and I work my way through. But what if digital and CTV comes first and audience comes first? I start to use all those attributes, all that data that I've been talking about using, but I still just buy on demos. I want women age 51 to 53. It's like, but we're going to see a change, and we're going to see a really big transformation there. Hey, if you're in digital, you're up 12. Life's good. It is CTV. CTV, now again, CTV loses $3 billion from political, but still adds $5 billion. So there's $8 billion of real money that's not politically, that's going there. So we're watching that, we're watching search, social, etc. all progress forward. Data, I think because the data layer consolidation is now more advanced. I'd say if we were We went from kind of the early innings to the mid stage. We're actually getting to the latter stage. We still have a ways to go because the market keeps changing, but think that we're in the 6th inning of that progression. Data services, we're watching very closely because of this currency conversation, and data stays really solid because more CTV is more data-driven channels. Ultimately, this is kind of where we wind up. It's another year Gen AI is going to dominate because it's a forcing function on the market. It's forcing transformation, and it's forcing everybody to change their behaviors, not because they want to. Organizations don't want to change. They have to. I think that's our story for this year. Stay tuned. Connected Commerce, I think, will be out Tuesday or Wednesday next week, and Contextual Commerce will follow behind that, and then we'll make some other shit up for the rest of the year. Thank you. I will take questions.
Thank you. So raise your hands, guys. Questions.
Hi, thank you for this. This was enlightening. Great to see a lot of things validated and see a lot of things kind of debunked. One of those debunking, I'm seeing more and more about gaming and gaming inventory, and I was surprised to see that the growth was nominal or didn't match the hype. What is your crystal ball saying?
So we've been watching gaming. And we separate gaming from gambling.
Yeah.
Gambling's off to the races, no pun. It's just, there's so much money because it's all profit, the house odds. Gaming was waiting for new games. There's only so much attention you can have. On a scale basis, it's doing okay, but it hasn't scaled up. It's also very difficult to interrupt a game. If somebody's playing and all of a sudden they see an ad, they can be pissed. So there's the, how do I provide an experience kind of like a pre-roll, post-roll? And how do I engage people by giving them things to incent them? And I think that's what we're seeing more. But in a mobile-first world, which is what we are, gaming will continue to go up. It's going up faster outside the US. Like if I was doing this for APAC, we're going to see that much more, and social commerce and gaming commerce is growing far faster. Yes?
Thank you. This is incredible. I'm gonna add some more channels. Audio and out of home. What do you see growth, the technology, and specifically with CRM targeting and attribution? Is, as we all know, all talks on podcasts and audio, but I don't know how much
It's okay, I have a podcast for this. We are going to do a paper on out of home. My partner Jonathan and Patrick Dolan from the IAB and Anna are thinking about what that's going to cover. Out of home is doing really well. People are going back to work. People are on the roads. The technology has gotten much more interesting. Spend has been growing up, but there's kind of a ceiling. Kind of the rule of thumb is somewhere around 30 to 35% of out of home could be digital, and the rest pretty much stays offline. Billboards, they're cheap. Podcasts we roll into digital audio. So podcast streaming, digital radio, et cetera, gets all rolled together, and those numbers are going up well. Yes?
So clients come to us all the time and said, we're really excited about our AI. And our advice is consumers generally associate AI with privacy concerns, job loss, and disinformation. What's your view?
Operational AI. So think about, if we go all the way back, services. How do I do a better job of servicing the customer? So it's more of a B2B thing. How do I do a better job of making more, faster, better creative? That's not consumer. Like the consumer ChatGPT thing, this is business automation. And I think that's the phase we're in. Almost all the agents we're seeing pop up, and they all have cute names. So I haven't seen Agent Bruce yet, but maybe one day.
Next year, this.
But there's like Agent Ivy, and there's Claude, and there's all these
We
things.
can help our team.
It's not consumer. Like this is still about, for consumer, it will show up in search. Like that's, I think, the first place they'll see it. But for B2B, there's some significant process transformation. Yes.
I have two questions. Is that too hoggy?
I don't know,
My
depends how
first
long it takes me to
question-
answer.
My first question is that, as we know from buying digital, that a lot of people are searching on ChatGPT and other, Perplexity, and as of this moment in time, there's no advertising allowed on that. So, do you see that as something that will happen in the future? Because
Perplexity already announced they're gonna have ads.
Okay.
So
Answered.
that was answered.
Can everybody
last-
hear that question?
That's almost 4 days old.
Okay. Oh, all right, my other question
4 days
is, we noticed in advertising on TikTok that the profitability and the amount of conversions went up dramatically with the TikTok shop. And that, do you see other platforms? I know Zuckerberg tried to do something with the Facebook store and it didn't really ever amount to anything, but do you see YouTube and Meta and other platforms sort of adopting that element where the person stays on the platform to shop?
Yes, social commerce.
Yeah.
So social commerce, we actually think is going to be a big thing. It is a big thing in Asia already.
Right.
There's a little bit more headwind here, obviously the uncertainty about the market,
Right.
but I was told by one of my friends a very, very long time ago, if somebody else can build it, so can I. And they will build it. And the moat will be about the data.
Right.
The moat will not be about the technology. And so I think our audience just will take a little longer to train. The TikTok audience is more fluid,
Right.
and they live in the online world. But I think it'll spread. They just have to make it easier. Like if I have to go then open my phone and take a QR code, like don't make it hard.
Right.
Figure out how to make it easy.
Right.
So
What do you recommend companies invest in social media wise? Because right now, like TikTok's up in the air. There's talk of like Meta and X protests and kind of moving away from those platforms. So for traditional social media advertising, like what are your insights on what this year is going to look like?
So there's been this kind of quick shift to red note and things from China. Look, that's kind of not a smart move. People are going there because they're pissed. Great, you're gonna go to something else that'll get shut down. That's not actually the right move. We do see Google Shorts picking up share. Meta will definitely take their share. There was another one, and I'm blanking on the name right now. Blue Sky. And Blue Sky is gonna take some. Trump Social is his trumpet. X is who they are. So I think it's a spread your bets, but I think the shift to other Chinese-based platforms is a head fake.
Bruce, just going to ask you about data security. I was at a presentation December in Washington about the typhoon viruses that were going out from China affecting certain industries. Anything we should be on the lookout for?
Everything. It's like our infrastructure is at risk. They haven't solved for that. And obviously, Brian Kennedy, when some of us were working with Epsilon, or Brian was on the board of the DMA with Joe and I, and Epsilon had had a pretty big breach. If they want you, they will get you.
Yeah.
You can have
It's not about
two-factor,
if,
three-factor,
it's about when.
whatever. So if they want it, you do your best for cybersecurity. And don't cut corners. But there's no stopping this. There's only preventing it in the short term.
You said MMM replacing MTA, but the challenges there are people, like the analytics people to do it, but it's also cost prohibitive. Like, and then you said, I think MMM Lite. What is that?
Well, they're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
So over in Europe, where we've lost a lot more identifiers,
Yeah.
we've looked at probably a half a dozen companies that have some pretty interesting workarounds, but they're still serving up to the upper mid-market. So the mid-market, the problem is the cost of talent.
That's right.
It's not data collection, it's not analytics, it's who's going to interpret this? And, excuse me, there's not enough folks on the agency side who can tell the story. And then the brand goes, well, shit, that's a lot of money. You know, am I willing to put 50 grand to this or 100 grand to this? And I think that's like, how do you deliver this in a way that's consumable in the finance office, in the sales office, in outcomes, that's still cost effective based on your marketing budget? And that's, I think, what we're trying to figure out.
A lot of the brands we're seeing as an agency are demanding that it's included as part of your service and not paying for it
Like a
separately as a
value add.
standalone.
Oh.
Yeah, show me what I'm spending with you is working.
So if
Which
I'm
is a big
doing
challenge.
activation for a client, they think measurement is included. We have a lot of clients, and I'm on the board of an agency in the PR comm side. And it's like, we can't sell measurement. I was like, well, no shit. If you are doing activation, you are not independent.
Right.
So therefore, you're grading your own homework, so nobody really believes you in the first place. But they want it included. If you happen to be TU, Analytic Partners,
We trained them. It was always included in traditional marketing.
That's true.
Right.
For direct mail, for
Right,
sure.
and so we trained them.
and in TV, you paid Nielsen to do it.
Right.
And it was 3.5% of your ad spend. So it was pretty much a fixed cost. So it's like, okay, if I now have 6 currencies for linear and CTV, who's sorting all this stuff out? So we have, like everybody's like, oh, we're gonna lose all these people. No, we're gonna reskill people. Like ultimately this story, there's more money in content. There's more, we have a big reskilling for the industry to bring them up to what are the solutions that are needed. It's not a technology channel. There's always money for technology, but find the money to reskill the people. That's a bigger ask internally. Like you ask for the next tech thing, it's like, sure. But ask for, you know, can I have $100,000 for training? All right, thank you all very, very much.